Hello and welcome to Manchester United, the D Unit's view. I tell you what, how disappointing was it that second game in and we lost? Uh, Very disappointing. Just before we get going, if you can, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would be amazing. If you're listening on audio or Spotify or Apple Music, again, make sure you give us a follow. Obviously a very deflating result. It's now Sunday morning here in Western Australia. It's actually afternoon, 12 p.m. just gone. And I've had the night to reflect on the defeat. Obviously the game was at a decent time yesterday, 7:30 p.m. over here. It was the early lunchtime kickoff over in the UK. And instead of getting off to a flyer like we did last week against Fulham, we got off to a disappointing result. And then obviously we watched all the big teams that played afterwards all win. So United have now been bounced down. I think it's ninth from the table after all the results yesterday. I mean, even West Ham overtook us. That's just disappointing. Lots of negatives to take out of the game. There were some positives as well, so I'm trying to balance it out a little bit. Hopefully we have some more transfer business because there's definitely some holes in the squad. I think the biggest thing to take out of the result last night was the fact that we just don't create enough chances. We'll have a look at the quick stats really quickly and go through that. So we had 8 shots and only 3 on target for the game compared to Brighton's 12 and 4 for theirs were on target. We have 52% possession to Brighton's 48. That wasn't too bad considering Brighton are quite a high possession team. We did shade the possession battle, but again, we'll get to that in a minute. We didn't do a hell of a lot without possession. So what's the point of having possession if you aren't going to actually end up with an end result? We had 13 fouls compared to Brighton's 9. We had 2 yellow cards compared to Brighton's 1. We had 6 offsides compared to Brighton's none. So I did notice that a lot in the game. Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford, all guilty of just going too early when we're playing the ball forward. Need to sort that out. Corner kicks are 4 each, and both goalkeepers made 2 saves each. So those were the raw statistics. What can we take out of that result? I actually don't know, to be honest with you. The same failings happened as we watched in so many games last season. Man United can't defend when it comes to the crux time of the game. We saw it in the Community Shield before. Maybe that's a one-off. I mean, Pellistri conceded the goal, conceded the Bernardo Silva coming in and heading it past him. I mean, that shouldn't be happening. And that was pretty much the last kick of the game, and literally in the last kick of this game, the defense. If we look at that goal in isolation, the fact that we've got 3 blokes manning space pretty much. I mean, Dalot seems to forget that he's not playing at right back and he's actually at left back because they have 3 players free at the back post. What are they doing? It's hard to believe that you go out there and you defend like that at such a pivotal point in the game. I mean, Anthony came on as well, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But Anthony came on and was just guarding space, on the right touchline during that whole set piece routine. What is he doing? Where are the defensive responsibilities in this team when it matters? Look, so I want to go back to the first half. The first half we actually played fairly well, I thought, across the board. We didn't deserve to be a goal down at half-time. I mean, Brighton literally scored with their only chance of the half. That's a disappointing thing as well. I mean, if you're going to sit there and concede goals, just don't do it like that. Harry Maguire, he's turned his career around after some shocking seasons. Last season was really good. But I tell you what, mate, there was 2 chances for him to deal with that. Initially, when the ball came over from the initial cross, it was like the most basic cross, and he just sort of looked. He looked and he did nothing. He just watched it go over like it was just going out harmlessly a play. And then I'll let Mazraoui off because I don't think it was his fault because he comes that close to Maguire in the end. And he would probably be thinking like I'm thinking, Maguire's going to deal with that as a defender. That's your job as a centre-half. Clear the hell out of the ball. Get it out of there. Don't sit there and watch it go behind. I hate when defenders don't deal with balls and they come in. The teams I coach, I hate when the ball bounces. Just deal with it. I don't care if it goes out for a corner. I don't care if it goes out for a throw-in. Just get rid of it. Don't sit there and allow that to happen. And then the worst thing was to compound it. When he comes back and the ball just sort of gets crossed in, and you just see him, and he's like wrong-footed. And he tries to stretch out his right leg. I'm pretty sure it's his right leg. Yeah, it was his right leg. It doesn't get anywhere near it. It's like the easiest goal ever. You're like, oh my God. It's just such basic defending. Like, Brighton had offered nothing that whole half. And then we give away a goal like that. And when you look at United's team, since Ten Hag's come in, we don't score lots of goals. I mean, if we're lucky if we score one a game, let alone two. So if we're conceding goals like that, we're already up against it trying to get a result. Obviously, we did have some really good stuff. I did like the way we moved, and our press was not too bad. But at the end of the day, and this came after the first game, I said, Mason Mount, what is he offering other than the press? And again, he didn't really offer much other than he is good at pressing the ball. But we need more than that. And this will come down to like the transfers a little bit later on in the show when I talk about that. But there's just so many problems still with the team. And they haven't been fixed. And that was compounded by the last-minute goal that we've conceded here. But I just want to talk quickly about Ahmad. I thought Ahmad's first half was actually really poor. I actually was surprised that it was Mason Mount that came off, but it turned out that Ten Hag said afterwards that he had a bit of an issue and didn't want to risk it since it's like a long season, and obviously he was injured so much last year. It makes sense that you take Mason Mount off and put Xerxes on. I didn't have a problem with that particular change. As I said, I thought Ahmad was really lucky to still be on the field at halftime. I probably would have subbed him for Garnacho at halftime, but he was brilliant in the second half. And I don't know why you'd bring on Anthony to replace him, because Anthony's going to give you nothing at this point. I actually don't know why. Let's just address it now. So Jadon Sancho was left out of the squad again today. And BT Sport, what I was watching on BT, basically said put it to Ten Hag, surely that means that Jadon Sancho is going to be sold. And I'm like going, well, surely it does, because if he can't get in the squad now and Anthony's sitting on the bench, as far as I'm concerned, Anthony's just a waste of space. Like, at this point in time, he talked about getting goals and assists during preseason, but I tell you what, he does not look likely at all. I don't understand why you don't have Sancho on the bench instead of Anthony. I know Ten Hag still probably has issues with him, but at the end of the day, he's a better footballer than what Anthony is, and I just don't think you can risk that moving forward. You've got to sort that out. It's just hard to fathom when you're trying to win football games, and that is your pure purpose in life as the manager, to make sure you are getting results. You would think you would have your best potential players that are available in the squad. And obviously the hatchet has not been buried, and I think that's a really key takeaway. And I wouldn't be surprised now that Sancho does leave before the end of the window, because like he's probably sitting there going, well, mate, if I'm not getting in the squad ahead of Anthony, who it literally is a waste of space at this point, the biggest waste of £80 million you've ever seen in your life, that's for sure. I don't think there's any coming back for him at all. I think they're actually just keeping him until like PSR becomes more likely to sell him or let him go. At this point, I'd let him go on loan. At least that way, hopefully he can get his wages off the books. But yeah, I just don't understand that particular bit. But look, Ahmad played really well in the second half. He got his goal. It was a heavily deflected goal. I actually thought it was an own goal. It looked like an own goal, but at the moment, it's still been given to Ahmad. So well done to him. He's in my fantasy team. Unfortunately, he was sitting on the bench, but he got me 6 points, so that's good. Moving ahead and looking at what else happened in that second half. So Bruno Fernandes had a pretty poor game, I thought. He looked a lot better when Xerxes came on. In the first half, he just looked all at sea. I don't think we can continue persisting with the false nine experiment. I think we've seen enough of it over the first two games. And for me, I think it's just got to be put away. You've got Xerxes now. He's played 30 minutes in the first game. He's played 45 this game. I think he has to start the next game at home to Liverpool. I think they need that focal point up front. And I think they need Bruno Fernandes where he plays best, in the number 10 position. Casemiro, he was okay, but Billy Gilmore ran the midfield yesterday for Brighton. Like, let's not take away, Brighton played fantastic. And if there's one small positive to take, it's the fact that we didn't get hammered 4-0. Because the last two times we've gone to Brighton, we have been an absolute shambles of a football team. And it could have been a cricket score against us. At least yesterday, that did not look like it was going to happen. Again, we only conceded 12 chances to Brighton, which is much better than what we were doing last year. We're not conceding 20 shots a game. So that's small positives to take away from that. I just don't think we don't get Cobby enough on the ball. He looks quality. So you've got to get your best players on the ball more often than you don't. And I think, particularly at Brighton yesterday, they just ran the show, particularly in the second half. Billy Gilmore just started dominating and just picking apart our defence. They had so many. All of Brighton's attacks pretty much came in the second half. We did a really good job half time. Maybe it was the fact that Casemiro was slowing down. He is 32 years old. That's naturally to be expected. I can 100% understand why we are chasing a upgrade or someone else to play in that position that can actually run out these games. I don't know if Ugarte, I think that's how you say his name, and the person we've been most linked with. I don't know if he's going to fix the problem, create different kinds of problems, but I do think the thing that's sorely lacking, as we've seen from the first two games, is an actual forward. I'd be spending whatever money we've got on trying to get someone. I don't think Ivan Toney's the answer, and I hear people going, "Oh, just throw 30 million at Brentford this week, and you might get him." But I don't think at 28 he's not got that much room for improvement, and I don't know. Maybe he would be good. But when I look at the alternatives, like who are the alternatives? I think like the alternatives that we were looking at were Sesko. He looks like a really good option, but he's signed on with. I think he's still under a new deal with Leipzig or whatever. But forwards are hard to come by, and this brings me back to last summer when we probably should have just spent up the extra 20 mil or whatever it was and just got Harry Kane from Tottenham, because in reality, he's a quality, proven goal scorer. He will get you goals, and that is the problem of our team at the moment. Rashford, he had that amazing season, not last season, the season before, we banged him 30-odd goals. But this season, he looks about the same as last season, and I wouldn't be putting any money on him to deliver any kind of goals at the moment. The person that looks the most likely to score every time he's on the field is Garnacho, and we'll get to that. This game, I did predict it to be a 2-1 win to Man United, and it could have been, and it probably should have been. It's just an exceptionally unfortunate circumstance of events that occurred when it was actually really good football. Ahmad played the overlap to Bruno, who cut it across. Xerxes slid in to try and make contact. In the process, because it was absolutely steaming down with rain in that game, by the way, and the ground must have been so wet that he's just sort of kept on sliding in. Garnacho's then made contact with it at the back stick, as all good wingers should do, always falling at the back stick. You get these tap-ins at least 5 times a year. If you keep on making those runs, you'll get 5 goals easy with these kind of goals. Matoma got one for Brighton last week against Everton, and Garnacho would have done the same here. It is so unfortunate that ball has hit Xerxes on the line. He didn't mean to hit it. He actually, you could see, like even on the replay, that he does not mean to hit it. He's no way. He knows he's offside, and he knew straight away. Whereas Garnacho ran off thinking, "Yeah, I've scored." He was that close, like it was right on the line. It's just super unfortunate. And, 2-1 there, I don't even know if we would have held on, because the way we defended at that last bit of the game, absolute shambles. And there's no guarantee that we wouldn't have thrown away the win and ended up with a draw. But in this case, we've actually thrown away the draw and ended up with a loss, which, it's so similar to last season. I'll talk you through the end bit. So, Anana comes out and somehow unnecessarily concede the corner in the first place. The corner comes in, and instead of just clearing your lines and actually getting back into some sort of formation, somehow Dallo ends up on the right-hand side of the fence with Mazzarari. They're both actually sitting there doing the same thing, trying to block the cross that comes in. I think it's from Adringa, and then João Pedro, or whatever his name is, heads it in, and it's the most basic. It's just such an easy goal. It's such poor defending. It's criminal. Now, some people will say, it's Ten Hag's to blame, because obviously why are you taking a centre-back off and then changing a thing, and then maybe if Maguire had been on the field, it would have been different, because maybe he's louder and organises the defence more. Who knows? These are all things that we can sit there and debate and talk about till the cows come home. There's no guarantee that Maguire being on the pitch means we don't do the exact same piece of defending. It's just that people think that maybe we were going to sit there and defend better. In reality, if you're going to change your centre-back pairing and it's not injury-related, I just think it's fraught with danger. I don't think you should be doing it. We did it and got away with it against Fulham. We got away with it against Fulham. They had some attacks where they probably should have done better. And they had a good win on the weekend as well, by the way. But we just got to... I think in reality, what he probably should have done is, if he wants to bring Delete on and get him up to match fitness, either play it behind closed doors friendly, like we did last season to get some of these players up to fitness, or you bring him on as an extra centre back and you play with 5 at the back. I think that would have been the better option here. That way, hopefully, it's a little bit more organised. Just the whole shape, the defensive shape. You must be pulling his hair out. I was pulling my hair out. I was like, oh, why? If you actually look at the replay of the goal, the fact that there is 3 Brighton players just lined up on that side of the field without any sort of Man United defender or midfielder or any sort of person anywhere near him, all he had to do was put the ball over and it was just going to be a raffle. Like, determine, and then it's just pure luck whether it goes in or not go in, but it was always going to go in. As soon as the cross went over, it was all done. And then again, last kick of the game, pretty much. I think there was about a minute left after that goal went in. It's just not good enough. We saw that so many times last year. I remember going to bed so many times frustrated that we just couldn't defend such basic, common defending. I mean, I actually won't lie. I think the 16s team that I coach would have defended that better than how we defended it. I always say, grab a man, stay with him until the ball's actually completely gone. The ball didn't even clear the area, and we've got people just all over the place. Absolute schoolboy defending. It's very, very disheartening this early in the season to have a loss like that. It was really interesting. I had an interesting stat that, the last time Man United won their first 2 games of the season was 7 years ago under Mourinho when we won our first 2 and we finished second that year. And he still said that was his best achievement in his football career because obviously that team the next season were absolute shambles. But we still haven't won our first 2 games since then. And it says it all. When you are losing this early in the season, it just doesn't set you up for success later on down the field. I mean, all our rivals are now are going to be in front of us. In fact, the only one that probably won't be is Chelsea, but I don't really consider them a rival. But everyone else has already had a win. They haven't had a loss, and we're already behind. At the best, at the moment, I'm pretty sure we are currently sitting 9th. I'm sure that's what I saw. Yeah, standings. Let's have a look. No, we're down at 10th now because obviously Newcastle haven't played yet and they have a better goal difference than us already. We're back to our goal difference that we finished on last year, which is 0. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, how can you win or expect to finish high up the table if we're not scoring enough goals? And again, that's where it comes down to. What we need to be doing in this last week of the transfer window, we need to be shipping out some more of these inferior players that obviously Ten Hag's not interested in, and we actually need to provide him with some substance where we're going to score some goals. We can't sit there and just keep buying defenders and hope that we're going to be able to shore up defence enough. We've got to start actually creating more opportunities, being more expansive with our football, and really the best solution is actually getting someone that can bang the goals in. If you can't get someone that can bang the goals in, then we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be fine against us all season. Hoyland's obviously already injured. Xerxes is still integrating into the team. And then that means you're relying on Rashford. And Rashford has not looked likely. He didn't look likely in the Community Shield, didn't look likely against Fulham, and he didn't look likely at all yesterday. He was pretty anonymous. I think the most times I saw him was that he was just getting offside. Yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating more than anything else. And then you sit there and the most annoying thing, when you have the first game of the weekend and you lose like we lost there, it just makes watching the other teams afterwards. And I watched the Goal Rush over here. They do the Goal Rush so you can watch all the 3 p.m. kickoffs. And just watching Haaland destroy Ipswich single-handedly, we just need someone that can do what he can do. That's what I feel like we're missing. And the other thing I'll mention in there is just the fact that, and I did talk about Casemiro, slowing down and things like that. He is 32 years old. We need to get better in that particular area, and you can see why we're getting linked with Manuel Ugarte from PSG. My only caveat on this particular signing is, why do PSG want to get rid of him after just 1 year? And they've signed, I think it was João Neves from, I think, Porto or Sporting, one of those Portuguese teams. So they've signed him to basically do what Ugarte was brought in to do a year before. Why is it that they're moving on a year already? Is there something that we're not seeing? Why have Man United identified Ugarte as the player that they want to fill that position? Obviously, he wants to come to United. I think that's very evident. I think he's made it clear. I think personal terms have already been agreed. I just hope that he's the signing that is going to helpfully unlock Mainu to just influence the game more. I'm sure he's fitter and probably is more mobile and will last longer in games than Casemiro, which again is probably good. I mean, Casemiro is probably closer to the end of his career he's definitely closer to the end of his career rather than his start. But then it comes down to like the other midfield positions. Like we've got Liverpool, very good test next week at home. He needs a response after the loss that we've had at Brighton. Yeah, get involved in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. It's disappointing, disheartening, those kind of results early in the season. It definitely sets back the momentum that was built last week. It's like we've already lost all that momentum from our winning start of the season because we've counteracted it by conceding a last-minute winner this week. So it's not good. The confidence is already going to be down. And I actually thought that if we won against Brighton, that the confidence we'd have there would mean we beat Liverpool and we'd be 3 wins and no losses moving into the first international break. Now we're sitting there and we could be facing the prospect of, if they don't perform next weekend, we could be 1 win, 2 losses before the first international break. And that's only going to ramp up the pressure on Ten Hag. I was talking to some of my mates in our chat yesterday when we were talking about United. I was like all it's done, yesterday's result, is highlighted all the flaws that we had last season, and it's probably put Ten Hag under undue pressure already. This is the kind of pressure that's going to happen, and because of the fact they haven't actually given him a new contract, they've just extended it for the initial extra year that he had in the first place, and the conditions have stayed the same. Basically means that, he's still on trial, and if he's not delivering and they keep on doing the same things, there's every chance that potentially down the track that Ineos will be like, he isn't actually our man. So I really hope for Ten Hag's sake that they can turn it around next week and we can get this season back up and running and go into the international break with a positive result. I will be doing another show later in the week prior to the end of the window. Hopefully we've got some news to share with some new signings, some outgoings. There's still rumours that obviously Pellistri left for Panathinaikos for $5 million since my last show. So there's a significant sell-on clause of that. So at some point he probably will make us a profit. Probably just won't be within the next couple of years, but hopefully he does really well over there and then he gets... United have also inserted this buyback clause as well. The other thing to keep an eye out for is Scott McTominay. He has still transfer interest from Napoli. They just aren't offering what United want for him at the moment. But again, he came on yesterday. He looked lively. It's just, I just can't believe that we're getting offered less money for him this year compared to last year after the season he had. He scored 10 goals last season for United. You would think that would make him worth more money, but apparently it's made him worth less. So again, obviously finances in football are much more stretched since COVID, and not many teams have a lot of money floating around other than Chelsea, who seem to be buying everyone still. But they've got their own problems. Again, the other thing I'd look into is like Victor Osimhen. Now, I know that there's rumours that Napoli want to do a deal with Chelsea because obviously they want to buy Lukaku and they want to send Osimhen the other way and get the money from that. But why aren't United sitting there going, hey, we need a centre forward that's proven it's going to bang in the goals, and if Chelsea are trying to do a loan deal with an obligation to buy for Osimhen and Napoli are considering it, why don't we sit there and go, well, Scott McTominay wants to go to Napoli, right? And apparently he's happy to move and they want him. Well, why don't we go, well, you want to get rid of Victor Osimhen, we need a centre forward, let's come up with a deal. That's what I'd be sitting there. I don't think we're going to get him, but in my mind, I'm like, that makes so much more sense than sitting there not just getting another forward. I mean, if there's an option and you could explore it, I mean, obviously Osimhen is on the table. PSG are also interested as well. Again, not at the price Napoli want to do, but if there's an option to actually get him on loan, you would think that's a brilliant option. That's the kind of thing we need up top. Someone that's reliable, going to kick the goals and be a reliable goal threat throughout the whole season. Because again, our options up front are Xerxes, who is brand new, probably needs some integration. His goal scoring numbers aren't the best at Bologna. I think he scored 10 goals last season. And obviously, Højlund is injured, and last season was his first season here. But again, not a proven prolific goal scorer. So United wouldn't do too bad to look at those particular avenues in the last week. That's definitely where I would be stressing. I think they're definitely going to go for Ugarte, and I'll be very shocked if he doesn't end up coming in to strengthen the midfield. But then I would really love us to make a play, like a left field play. I don't know how they can get creative. Maybe they can do a loan with an obligation to buy. I think that's what they're going to do with Ugarte. Hopefully, if we can somehow get Scott McTominay to Napoli and then somehow come into that conversation with Osherman, I think that would be a brilliant window. It'd give us some goal scoring, actual threat up top. I don't know whether he's really made for United. But at this point, we need a forward. I think, just judging from the first two games, we don't create enough chances. I don't know if that's a midfield problem or if it's a forward problem or a combination. Hopefully, what Ten Hag is trying to implement will come to more fruition. But yeah, it has been a disappointing week, obviously, with the loss to Brighton. Hopefully, we can have some positivity in the transfer market prior to our game against Liverpool. I will try to come back on Saturday before the early kickoff to do a pre-match look at Liverpool and Man United, tell you what I think the team should be and whether we've got any transfer news to update you on. But please, before you go, make sure you like and subscribe. And come on, United, let's turn this around for game week 3. Hopefully we can recover. Good weeks worth of training, some good transfer moves, and hopefully we can knock the bin dippers back into the bin next Sunday night. Thanks for watching. See you next time.